Yo, 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 it's GI Joburg, episode 294. My goodness, we are closing in on 300. If that even means anything. My name is Steve. The title of this episode is Bug Hunting and the ThunderWave. That is a very mystifying title. It even mystified my fellow co-hosts. So, if you are in the dark, don't worry. Step inside. We'll elucidate on it. But yes, as I say, my name is Steve. I'm joined, as always, by the usual suspects. It's Paul, Deadly Pencils.
Berg. Decepticons superior to Autobots. What's up, everybody?
Well, there's a big hint right there. And the love and scoopful, it's Rob.
Thunder! Doom! Wave! Sorry, wave. Thunder wave. How's it?
Rob, what is the ThunderWave?
Thunder shock.
Oh my god, it's something absolutely crazy, and I think, as you said privately, this is we're really getting to start you to like dreadnoughts, Rob.
All right. Let's put everyone out of their misery. Yes, today on GI Joburg, we are going to sink our teeth into the latest announcement that there is going to be another Transformers X GI Joe collaboration, the Thunder Machine and Soundwave. We call it the ThunderWave.
Sound machine. I see why you went to Thunderwave. That's much cooler.
It's a cool artwork, eh?
It's all right. Yeah.
Oh, I like them.
Not too shabby at all. Look, let me not downplay it. The boxes on these things are amazing.
This makes perfect sense. I don't know why, but because like the coloring is just so spot on. Like the Thunder Machine, blue and red, and then Soundwave, blue and red. I mean, it makes so much sense. I think it's really cool.
Rob, my goodness, are you being won over by this collaboration? I thought you were the hardest to sell. Because let's just put things in perspective. Out of the three of us, I'd say you and Paul are vying for biggest fanboys of Soundwave. However, Paul is also a fan of the Dreadnoks, whereas you, Rob, are not. But you are in possession of the masterpiece Soundwave, and Paul is not. So, I don't know.
I do own a Thunder Machine too, so I mean, I could smash these together if I wanted to.
Yeah. Do what we used to like imagine we were doing with our toys, anyways, and like have one robot in its transformed robot mode, and then another in the vehicle mode, and just kind of like squint our eyes. And
so much easier.
Yeah, so much easier. Because man, oh man, Transformers fans are a strange bunch because clearly their play must have had very little kineticism, because every time you need to bloody well move from one mode to the next, it's like, pause, stop the game, I gotta transform my robot.
Pause, transforming time.
That was probably the highlight of the playtime, was the transformation, so I'm guessing. Is you're just waiting to be able to like change into the other mode.
I've been transforming as much as possible. Fuck, I broke a thumb.
No. Think about it, Rob. It was you, me, Justin, and Wesley, perhaps. And between the four of us, someone was always wanting to switch modes. So the other three, what do we do? Just kind of blink at each other.
Sit around and wait.
Great if we all kind of transformed and rolled out at the same time. But no, that's not how these things went. Someone wanted to be a helicopter while the other one wanted to be the robot. So we wait.
No one was ever in sync. It's true.
David and I did transformations.
We just had the wrong mindset. I think, if we had the right mindset, we could have had fantastic playtimes, just transforming all the time. Well, it's kind of like Power Rangers or something like that.
Hey?
How did you play, Paul?
We did. I played. So it was all David's Transformers because I had like one or two like G2. I think I had. I keep wanting to call him Rotor, but it's not Rotor.
The Rotor.
It's the blue helicopter.
Rotor.
Yeah. Oh, Rotor Storm.
Rotor Storm.
Dude,
yeah.
What a beautiful helicopter.
So when I got him, I went over to David's place and I was like, "Oh, cool! They got Transformers back in the shops and blah 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 blah." And he was like, "They're not as good as the originals." And then he pulled out like Skull Cruncher and stuff. Anyway, we did start playing Transformers, but we would do it like transformation sequence, like Super Sentai or Tokusatsu kind of thing. So it'd be like, "My animal mode is not beating you. I will use my," and then he would transform into the robot, and then we like crash course together. So,
Yeah, it's
and,
like I was just saying, like Power Rangers, like we aren't powerful enough in our current form. We have to transform,
So
become
they
more
escalate
powerful.
together. Well, yeah, no. My recollection of our Transformers games were pretty scrappy. Like everyone it was a free for all. We had
Yeah.
bots up against vehicles, and then switching roles basically. Like the jet that was attacking from the sky would become a robot and want to punch the Autobot. Then the Autobot would transform into the car
Drive
and drive
away.
off, and then smash the Decepticon. So yeah, it was messy, but it was always hampered by these kind of like forced breaks. Getting back to ThunderWave. This, no doubt, is a slightly higher price point. Certainly in Australia, it's retailing a little bit higher than the other two. Though I seem to recall the introductory prices of Megatron and, well, obviously, Bumble Striker and Mega Hiss have come down significantly in price. This is retailing at 200 Australian dollars at the moment on pre-order. And I suspect it will come down, but it's easy to explain why. It's a more deluxe offering. You're getting 2 carded figures as opposed to just one. And
Ravage.
I was comparing my Hiss Tank and my Thunder Machine today, and the Thunder Machine is a slightly more substantial lump of plastic, if I'm
It
honest.
is.
Yeah. It's a bit
also-
longer, it's a little bit wider, and it's got more, I suppose, visual intrigue, more greeblies.
More finger
Lordy,
food.
I mean, I want to criticize now. Like, we cannot keep placing the sort of 1985 design team on a pedestal when they included something as frail as the Thunder Machine's front grille. Like, what the hell were they smoking to think out of the box? Kids need to take this flimsy piece of blue plastic and bend it into place.
Oh,
Show me
They
everybody's
a
doing
trusted
okay.
that
Yes,
the kids had parents that would help them.
Even
So-
so, it's impossible to not stress that plastic. Like, it's a ridiculous design feature.
So
Anyway,
just quickly
they've
on the
beefed it up on the
pricing.
ThunderWave.
Yeah, it's much better here.
So a quick update, like on the pricing. As of today, on Big Bad Toy Store, Transformers, or let's just call it the Mega Hiss, is going for $89, and this is going for $99.99. So it's a whole $10 more than the Mega Hiss.
But that
So
still makes
it's
sense
not
because
that expensive if you've been buying these. Yeah.
no, I mean it still makes
Yeah.
sense for it to be slightly more expensive. I mean, there are 2 figures, a cat. Yeah, I think it's priced accurately to what they've released before in this range.
Yeah, because comparatively, leader class Transformers or Studio Series Transformers tend to go between $40 and $60. I think I think the Dinobots, the 86 Studio Dinobot stuff is about like $60. It's $59.
Okay, so you're saying we are actually paying for the figures, that they're not just in there.
Yeah, we are paying for the figures,
There's
definitely.
$10
And
for you,
Ravage.
$10 for you, and $10 for you.
Okay,
The
this
real
is a
question is
G.I. Joe podcast, and we're going to address the figures at length. But let's talk about the bots first. There are not one but 2 of them, and I just want to give my observations and feel free to jump in as and when you guys want to. But we're probably dealing with clicky clacky plastic tires, which is a departure from the Thunder Machine. But that's, I mean, rubber tires on a Transformer has that's mythical. That's like G1 era. So kiss your rubber tires goodbye. I was very intrigued by the apparent hinge on the chest of Soundwave. So that led me to say, I think off air to you guys, or maybe it was the my Australian Joe Bros. I've reasoned that the chest probably opens up, which then led me to think, well, then surely Ravage transforms into a cassette tape. And yes, it has been confirmed by a Hasbro Pulse press release that yes, Ravage will convert into cassette mode.
Well, that's good. You can't have a Soundwave that doesn't have the ability to put at least a tape inside him.
Well, you say that.
Defeats the point. Wait, no, they cannot have made a Soundwave that doesn't do that. That's ridiculous.
No, you're probably right. Oh, look, there was that one that I think was an actual MP3 player. So I think I took that functionality
well, then
out.
that's that's okay.
I have a
But
USB.
yeah, even in
I've
the
got
core class, hey Paul, does that one accept tapes?
Yes, it's got a little tape. It's
Oh,
magical. I love this little guy. I'm so glad you brought him up. His little chest opens and he's got a little it's laser beak that's
Oh,
in
that's
there. But I mean,
cheeky.
it's not it's in tape mode, but it's laser
Sure.
beak because it's red.
Because
Yeah,
it's the
so
size
cool.
of a chiclet. No, it's even smaller.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like a
about
half
the
a
size of a
chiclet.
chiclet. No,
Soundwave's
yeah,
ready to stab a
like
bitch.
you could swallow this thing out
Damn.
and not poop it out in robot mode is all I'm saying, but it's great. And
Rob,
it's
are
even
you
got a little
referring to the
slot.
fact that Soundwave comes with like fucking Bowie knife?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a bit
That thing's
nuts.
huge. But I like
I-
that they have incorporated all his weapons is stuff that is part of the Thunder machine. You know, it's the rocket propulsion system, it's the Gatling guns on front, and then the Bowie knife that obviously always came with the Thunder machine, obviously.
And
What?
yeah,
No, it
obviously.
Well, I wasn't picking up what
I
you were putting down. Guys, do you know that, okay, this image is a bit zoomed out, and I don't really have the capacity to zoom in on StreamYard, but inside the Thunder Machine thruster nozzle, the sort of rear nozzle, they have included the classic Soundwave little, what would you call them? Like rocket protrusions, like the little
rockets, yeah.
studs that,
Yeah.
that evoke his G1, I don't know,
fuck.
rocket pod, whatever
Yeah.
you'd call that shoulder cannon. That's cool. What is
Yeah, it's like
slightly less
this
cool is the
disruptor cannon
mushroom
or whatever it's
peg
called.
sticking out in the middle.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a bit
yeah.
lame.
It's
I
like
hate
the
that.
only way they could figure out how to attach that on there.
I mean,
It's
seriously,
a different
like,
color, so of course we have to pop it on there like this.
yeah, but they could have designed that a little bit better. That's
They could have
you know,
done
it's
such
just,
a much better job, but
And
apparently
gents,
also-
I will never get on side
today.
with a robot car's seating becoming his feet. Seat feet are lame. It destroys the
feet are
suspension of
lame.
disbelief because is that a padded cushioned seat? I guess he's wearing
Oh
wearing
god, that's gonna be
sneakers.
so uncomfortable when he transforms back and he's be like trudging around, you know, through the
No, it's just-
countryside, and then you sit
Yeah.
on that seat and you're like, oh god, Soundwave, what have you been going through? Ah.
It's made
For
worse
me-
by the fact that like the look of having red like high heels. I can't get my I can't get past
Okay,
that.
so I feel
Tuck,
like
tuck, tuck, tuck.
that's where I feel like I need to put in my 2 cents because
Oh.
generally
Paul
I
loves
also
it.
hate seat feet as
Oh.
well. Generally, I'll make an exception for Soundwave because it's Soundwave and it's a Thunder machine. Even though in my head, every time he walks around somewhere, it's going to be like, wee, 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 you know, as the seat like flexes under him. But as a Gundam fan and as a longtime mecha fan, I'm very used to like high heels on a mech design. It's something that like until Steven actually pointed it out, I didn't notice. I noticed they were seats and I was like, but when he pointed out that they were high heels, I was like, oh yeah, they are. But then a lot of my favorite Gundam kits have that, like the Zeta
Yeah,
Gundam.
from kind of like a
and that
mech
kind of thing.
fan perspective,
So-
it's not that much of
In
an
its
issue.
defense, though, it does
Yeah.
kind of look more like a chameleon's feet because it's got that sort of clawed front end and then the back.
Yeah.
So, in essence, he is Zartan's chameleon. See what I did there?
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And,
Should we talk about
and
the
a cool
figures?
secret feature. Well,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Just before we jump in,
Wow.
there's a cool little
Wow.
secret feature that I quite dig. Well, one thing on the vehicle mode actually as well is because I've got Core Soundwave, I can put Core Soundwave into ThunderWave. How exception is that, right?
Boombox.
I also
That's
love
pretty
that
sweet.
there's some cool painted details on here. So like the lights are painted, which is
They're
really
all
nice to
painted.
see.
These aren't stickers. What you were seeing, the Cobra symbol, the stars on the side, the Dreadnought symbol, the headlights, all paint apps.
Yeah,
Very
someone in
cool.
China meticulously painted that on there for you.
Cute.
It's just cool because those things are missing on the Thunder machine, namely the weird bubble thing, you know, the little yellow bubble there. I'm not entirely sure what that's meant to
slide.
be. I always thought it was some kind of weird optics thing, but
Well,
yeah.
the classic car has a sort of a small sticker, yellow sticker dot that goes in the center of that gumball, which also it's also a mystery to me. Like, what does that denote? But then with ThunderWave, they've gone and painted the whole bell yellow, which also mystifies me. Like, what is it trying to emulate? It is a bit of a visual distraction, but like, we're looking at digital renders right now, so everything's super vivid. It probably will be a little bit duller and less
Maybe the
less
blueprints will tell us.
stand out. Yeah, well, feel free to flick onto 3D Joes, guys, if you want to do that in the background. I'm going to keep jawing away. It's interesting to me that, so there are attachment points on the front of the cab on the classic vehicle into which the roll bar is inserted. On this, because it's a transformer, obviously there's sort of hinges that are at play. So the roll bar no longer inserts into those points. However, they've decided to keep the holes. At least on this render, it's still got the holes that accept the roll bar. So that's a bit of slavish adherence to the original when it didn't have to be. I mean, unless there's a screw that goes in there, those holes could have been easily filled in. That jumped out at me. But the authentic battle damage on the grille of the, is it an IROC? The Camaro, the car that lends its front facade to the Thunder Machine, those sort of dings are nicely replicated on the toy. It's great. Should we talk about the figures, boys?
Yeah, let's get into the toys. Because I
it.
think the Thunder Machine rendering is pretty good. It's just the Fisher Price front grille is a bit much for me, to be fair. But it's okay. I'm mostly going to keep him in robot mode.
It's too fine. Those grills are way too thin. So I'm okay with the...
Yeah, I don't hold that against him either. I think, like, that's the best way to go, unless they made it, like, thin and metal or something, and that would have been ridiculous. So
it'll probably look a little bit less Lego in the flesh. I think we're looking at the renders and we're like, oh, that's a cow catcher.
But in robot mode, it's going to look great, because it does. So
great head sculpt. Once again, like, I'm really enjoying these crossovers for really nailing the character, the face, the what do they call it? The portrait of the bots. Like, from the neck down, it might be a free-for-all. Certainly in the case of the Bumble Striker. Like, that does not look like Bumblebee. But the head does. Soundwave's head is, once again, just a work of art, man. That is the ultimate Decepticon face. It's like
I wonder if someone...
His face.
Yeah, it looks like...
it is the Decepticon symbol, just like made into a bot, almost.
I wonder if someone has replaced Bumblebee's head with Hound's head. Because it would be so easy to do. Because, I mean, isn't like the Bumblebee head the only part of it that's yellow?
No, unfortunately, there's yellow peeking out to the back. Like, his chest brings out a bit of yellow.
Okay, so you can't just make him into Hound. Damn.
Hey, customizers are pretty handy with paints. If you can do a head swap,
before you do the action figure, according to the blueprints, that weird yellow thing is an infrared target acquisition scanner, according to the blueprint.
Yeah,
so that it has some acquired targets for the Gatling gun in front.
Well, now it looks like a kernel of corn because it's just all yellow. It's just yellow bulb. So I don't know if I buy that. I would have preferred it to still be a little spot
infrared.
Of yellow.
It's helping them.
I think I'm gonna paint mine.
Do it, painted red.
No, I'll do like a pill coat or something.
I gleaned some information from the unveiling of this, which happened on the kind of the last Emily and Lenny and the Transformers dude pre-recorded video for Yojo June. And one of the details that we got out of that was kind of mentioned in passing when they were discussing the future of these Zarana and Zartan molds, was the Transformers guy. He said, yeah, these guys don't color change. So maybe a future release would color change. But that's beside the point. These ones don't have any color change feature.
Whoa. That's quite a knock.
I wonder if
so cruel, Rob, so cruel.
I wonder if Zartan's leg pads will be removable.
No, of course not. No, they won't. It's molded now, I'm sure.
I'm curious if we'll be able to disassemble the upper torso, if they will also slavishly follow the original and seal them.
Surely not.
I'm guessing they won't. It would be stupid, but then you never know. I also see they made Zorana's backpack black. Wasn't it? It's previously
Weird
red.
choice. So the
Yeah.
accessories for Zartan, it's a gun and it's Ravage. Is that it? Does he
Yeah.
come with more accessories? Really? That's it. He doesn't come with his full
Backpack
backpack with the
and
Jesus.
the
Oh yeah,
Jesus
he's got
face.
Jesus face. Yeah.
Oh, does he still? Okay, so he does come with all his original accessories.
I hope Steve shows the back of the robot mode at some point in this podcast. But you're gonna have to because there's an interesting talking point about Zorana. So
Okay, well, there
Oh,
we
that's
go.
cool. He's wearing the Jesus face in this shot.
Exactly. He's going to need the power of Christ to protect him from that turbine.
He looks so awkward. Like.
Okay, so Zorana, new face sculpt. She's got her version 2 hairpiece. By that I mean the no earrings version hair. But most interestingly of all, she does not share parts with Zartan's arms anymore. She's got her own upper arms, and this time they are bare. And you can see a tattoo.
Very nice.
The tattoo is nice, but I don't know if it's worth losing those cool arms.
If you already own a Zorana.
Well, yes, if you already own a Zorana, you're not losing anything. However, you're gaining something, a bit of a throwback to an earlier time with this Zorana, because her pre-production, the artwork by Ron Rudat.
Dude, I can't see it because of the picture.
Football. her pre-production had the dragon tattoo. This is courtesy of Carson Metaxas of 3D Joe's, and this is something that he made us aware of at JoeCon 2018. Oh, man, I'm having trouble scrolling around. Okay, there we go.
It's gorgeous.
I also do prefer,
her pre-production artwork. Not only had a dragon tattoo, but it looks like she's got her nipples showing through her blouse.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the resolution ain't so great, but that looks like a little bit of a bump.
Trying to see
potato nipples.
That's your brain.
Also, like a small detail, but it's something that matters to me is I hate that she's got stockings that show through her jeans. I think hate is a strong word. I always felt it shouldn't be that. I always felt it was meant to be bare flesh, and that the pink in the artwork was always like a, what's the word I'm looking for?
A mistake.
It was covering up some flesh. It was making your toy a little bit less risque. Because Zorana, in her original artwork, that is an enormous tear out of her jeans. That's showing a lot of flesh. However, if you happen to own the 2005 comic pack Zorana, you can do an easy leg swap, and then you've got the exposed flesh. So
nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Expose her.
Nice.
Perverts.
Yeah, man. I remember it was Carson told us about that. I think I wish I could remember who it was, but someone gave us the Live the Adventure board game. The artwork. Oh, it was our buddy who's I'm blanking on the name, but it'll come to me later. He's probably listening to this right now. My apologies, sir. I'll
be shouting at you.
Why
can't you remember me?
Because we haven't chatted in years, it feels like. But yes, I'll look that up. Anyways, the Live the Adventure board game has the original Zorana artwork.
Gorgeous.
And Carson was like, "Hey, nice pickup. That's the OG. That's how she should be represented." But the plastic stepped away from the precipice there.
Also, a cool thing that they did on the SDCC, the Comic-Con exclusive Modern Era Zorana, is the pink version also still has the stocking there, which is whatever. But then the Cold Slither, the black version, has fishnets in that space, which I think
very appropriate.
Then makes it much cooler again. So, like, yeah. Not that I've ever taken one out of
the figures, they're not mind-blowing. They're not inoffensive. They're just figures that come with the vehicle. We're not unhappy with the figures, is what I'm kind of getting from you guys.
Yeah, they're cool. I'm happy with them.
Nice, and it's a good inclusion. But what do you think of like the the mindset of having Soundwave be a dreadnought a vehicle.
Yeah, I'm done with that.
Does that fit? Does that fit for you? Soundwave working with the dreadnoughts?
I'm most curious to hear your answer to that question, Rob. How do you reconcile the most surgical, most clinical, most robotic of all Cybertronians with this ragtag bunch, this unruly group of swamp dwellers?
It's difficult. I mean, I like when I first saw it, I was like, this is very weird. I like that the colors match, but the characters don't feel like they mesh together. It's just a weird team up, as it were. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work. I mean, these things don't come with like little blurbs and stuff, do they? Do they?
No, sadly not.
No, nothing at all. It's all up to us to figure it out.
The press release has some information. I can see if I can find that from Hasbro Pulse.
For
Where
me,
is that?
I just like having the Decepticons' most loyal member spying on the Dreadnoks, who are arguably the Cobra's most non-loyal faction.
So you think this is Megatron trying to ensure that the dreadnoughts stay in line?
Yeah, and specifically Megatron making sure that the Dreadnoks stay in line, not Cobra Commander. And also like Soundwave is also kind of spying on Cobra Commander because of all the dealings that Zartan would do. So that's what makes sense for me. Also, and this is kind of like, I don't think this was intended in the design at all, but it's kind of interesting. Don't you think it's cool that the Thunder Machine is so Cobra colored that when it's in Soundwave mode, he looks like a Cobra officer? He's got that vibe to him.
That is kind of cool.
I like that a lot. Replete with the yellow. So yeah. So I kind of love that, like Soundwave is in a weird way like the most ultimate Cobra officer. Yeah.
Nice.
And that is a great question that just came through from Gary on our chat. I love this. The real question is Ravage a Cold Slither cassette? Oh, it's gotta be, dude. On repeat.
Absolutely.
We'll be you soon.
This isn't a premeditated response. It just came to me while I was listening to you guys. And that's the fact that he's not packaged with two Dreadnoks. Thrasher and Buzzer, or Thrasher and Monkey Wrench aren't the included figures. They rolled heavy with the ultimate spies of Cobra, Zartan and Zorana. So it is like Super Spy Soundwave with the Super Spies of the GI Joe universe, the Z kids.
That's cool, actually.
The Z-Force. He just happens to be in a Dreadnought vehicle mode, but that's to better blend in with, the local denizens. But he's actually on a very top secret mission that only Zartan and Zorana know about. So, like, yeah. It's the perfect marriage of the super spies, basically.
So,
and who's the most sneakiest of all? It's got to be Ravage. My God, he's articulated, isn't he? Looks like ball jointed,
so beautiful
upper joints and swivel lower joints, and then swivel at the ankles. Amazing.
Yes, like the little pause there.
But now that you pointed it out,
yeah,
Rob,
Robbie, go for it.
Now that you pointed that out, it does make more sense. Like he comes with Dreadnoks, but they're Dreadnoks adjacent. He's the Dreadnoks, but they're not the wild, unruly Dreadnoks. So that does actually make more sense.
The Dreadnoks are Zartan's henchmen, but they also serve as his subterfuge. Because of these clowns that he surrounds himself with, perhaps people don't realize exactly how deadly their leader is.
Yeah.
And so people do not realize how flippin' deadly that vehicle parked out back behind the shed, and
not just for the driver,
the cassette tape inside it, or like beneath that hood, beats the heart of a very, very dangerous Decepticon.
Hell yeah! All hail Megatron.
So is that a 3 GI Joburg members purchase?
For me, yes, definitely.
That'll be a first.
Definitely Paul's getting it.
Yeah. Rob, do you want one?
I'm thinking about it. I think it looks awesome. And it
Let
would
me
be
know when
nice
you're
to
done
finally
thinking about it.
own a Zartan. I think that would be kind of cool.
Well, put it on the Christmas list because things have a tendency of arriving in Australia a little bit early.
Ooh,
So if I see it,
interesting.
maybe
You'll
I'll
definitely
make
grab
it
yourself one.
Do.
Father Christmas. It doesn't have a white beard just yet.
Zoltan Claus.
No
And
white beard, only a grey beard.
and
A
guys,
little bit
just
of salt in my
cart-
pepper.
before we cartwheel out of this topic into the next,
Whoa.
do you guys have an issue with Ravage being blue?
Nah, it's
Hmm.
appropriate to the color scheme that they got going. I didn't even think about it. I had forgotten that he was originally pink.
What a troll. Only now that
Love
you've
you, Rob.
mentioned it does it bother
Yeah.
me. But this does serve to differentiate it from the SDCC release of Ravage, which did not transform.
Yeah.
This, I think, makes use of the same chain. I mean, it'd be stupid of them to remold the chain. That's neither
Yeah.
here nor there. But the bot itself is a completely new build. So maybe it's to divorce him from that. Maybe they're gonna do the
Some kind of
same
thing later.
Ravage in black later in like a tape pack. So you
Maybe
get
we'll get
black
a laser
Ravage.
beak and
Oh.
rumble and stuff as
There
well,
you
and frenzy and all
go.
that. So,
Which
which would be great.
Amazing.
I'll sign up for that. Cool.
I think my
Okay.
last question to you, gents, is this the final? Is this the swan song of the Transformers X GI Joe experiment, or is this a positive sign of more in the pipeline?
I'm gonna say it is because every time we say it is, they release a new one. I'm trying to cheat the system.
The words from on high, Emily, head of GI Joe marketing, is that the O-ring GI Joe line is at rest, which is corporate speak for saying don't expect any more action.
That's
in your-
sad. I mean, they've hit. I think they've with all three of them. They've done something really cool with all three. Yes, they kind of there was I suppose like stumbling blocks with the first one, with compatibility and stuff. But I think in general they've done a really good job in creating GI Joe vehicles that are Transformers. And why stop now? Keep going. But the amount of time between each release is quite long. So I don't see how you could keep getting steam going with these things and keep getting people to buy them, I guess.
I
Keep
think
interest in them.
I think Steve's right in that is definitely marketing speak for we're putting it, we're shutting that
Putting a
down.
pen in it.
But also there's the whole end of the Transformers movie the post-credit scene
Oh,
of a movie
wow.
I haven't seen yet.
Ooh.
And something tells me that we've got all of these Transformers. We got Megatron, we got the Mega Hiss, we got Bumble
Yeah.
Striker, and we got the
Mhm.
Thunderwave. But no,
Very nice. You heard it here on
Optimus.
GI Joburg.
So like, we don't have any Optum Havoc, Havoc Prime.
It feels like that's what this is leading up to. They started
Yeah.
strong with Megatron. We've now gotten two very important supporting characters. Where's Prime? They've got to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
Prime.
There has to be at least a fourth one. I mean, to round it out.
There has
I
to be at
think
least
that's
a
already been
Prime.
designed.
If you're doing any Transformers line, you start with Prime.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, they went with the bad guy first, Megatron.
So
It's very
I think we're not going to see the end of this line,
Mhm.
but rather we're going to see kind of. I've got a feeling we might see these same vehicles re-released with like a more modern era style figure to go with them when the
Whoa.
movies come out, when the GI Joe Transformer movie comes out, and that will come out with Optimus, because I'm pretty sure they've designed an Optimus and he's somewhere there in the archive. And
Whoa.
they probably
Well,
started with Optimus,
I'm
and they
sure
were
they
like,
have.
"We need to build to this because Optimus
Yeah. 'Cause
Prime
it's so
transforming
cool.
into a whale. That's a bit of a stretch."
Into a flag.
We'll
Take
just
a while to
Kickstarter it.
build that. Cool. Well, we'll
Oh,
continue
yeah.
this conversation in 2027 or whenever that movie comes out.
Yeah. If there's still a world by that point.
Let's
Well,
shift
I
the
mean,
focus then, boys.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Transition. God damn it.
Please. Tie the bow.
No, you ruined my transition. I was gonna say, this Transformers being so popular, I mean, it's just such a popular thing. Of course, I'm sure we can, we can keep this thing rolling and keep going. Other things that have been quite popular recently is
Very
our
smooth.
latest video that we put out. Yes, but now it's ruined.
Rolling.
No, it's on.
Bug
It's on. So
hunting.
last
People love this.
weekend we released a playmotion for the first time in a long time, since Red Glare, in fact. It was entitled
Glare.
Bug Hunting. Bug Hunt, which is, of course, a nod to Aliens. Is this going to be a standard fight, sir, or another bug hunt?
Bug hunt.
Uh,
Secure that shit, Hudson.
Deep
nice.
cuts.
Thanks, Apon. But it features the Cobra bug, which is a personal favorite of all three of us, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Paul had one growing up, Rob and I had one growing up, and
If
it
I
saw
share,
a
Steve.
lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that I felt
Mine's
it was GI Joburg's mission to place this thing fairly in everyone's crosshairs and show it off for what it truly is, a submersible craft. Put it beneath the waves as only we can do.
Yeah.
And the response has been very warm. To put it in perspective, like typically a playmotion from us does maybe 2,500 views before it really bottoms out. This one, within its first week, exceeded 10,000 views, which in our very nichey, geeky little content creation corner is amazing numbers. And I'm wondering what the hell we did differently.
We featured the bug. That people are all secret fans of the bug. That's what's going on here. Maybe it's also the length of the episode.
Well, these are healthy lengthed episodes for YouTube. Like this kind of concept could be teased out into a 22 minutes cartoon length. But the YouTube viewership is a fickle one. People want to sit down and consume a couple of videos before they have to clock back on. So 12 minutes length is pretty optimal. I'm going to answer my own question and say the difference, and something that is a bit of a watershed moment in GI Joburg Playmotions, and maybe we'll never be able to step back from, is this has actual sound design. It's not just my mouth and a microphone. Dustin Cordish, who is a Playmotion extraordinaire himself, check out his channel and his films. In fact, I'll put the link in the description below. He was tasked with scoring or soundtracking this, adding the sound effects, the soundscape, as it were. And he exceeded, I think, my expectations big time. He went above and beyond the ambit of the job of just putting in, the odd machine gun and ricochet and engine noise. Like, it is a full soundscape.
It's a living world. Like every frame, every scene feels alive.
It takes cognizance of when the bug is above water, when it dips below the water. It's got three-dimensionality to it. Dustin has done an excellent job. And as I say, this work kind of stands on the shoulders of his work. He put in the time. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, I just need to add a massive thank you to Dustin and his work. But that's enough gabbing from me. Gentlemen, you were essentially the audience for this. So as bug appreciators, what did you think?
Bug us about it. Paul,
Dude,
what
it's
bugged you about
okay.
it?
Well, I mean, so firstly, this opening scene that is being shown now on the YouTubes. But the opening scene for Bug Hunt is awesome.
Cool, I love it.
Absolutely love the shot. I feel like it definitely bends the mind when it comes to the scale and things like that. It really tricks the viewer into fully believing the scene.
This is a scene between Shipwreck and Keel Hall, and I don't want to do a commentary necessarily, Paul. So
no, I hear you.
Ignore the visuals.
But
we'll do a commentary eventually.
But this was a favorite scene of mine, so it's cool that it's like playing out because we typically don't do in GI Joburg's Playmotions. We typically don't do drawn out dialogue. Okay, Steven likes action beats, and he likes beats to move, and so for this to be quite a long, let's call it a dialogue scene, it's a very interesting and fun dialogue scene to check out. So I really, really enjoyed that. I also feel that the magic behind this, and maybe I'm crazy here, but I feel the magic behind this episode is not so much in like where we've done other episodes where we've all labored at some point to do certain things. This episode was very much, and Steve, this is by your admission, was shot in between everything else that you were doing in your life at the time. So it's like little bits here, little bits there, and you just kind of had to accept the stuff that you had shot. And I feel like that's the magic, because I feel like when we overthink some of the stuff, it doesn't, like, it looks great, but I sometimes feel like the energy is lost. And I can only say that now because of something like the bug. Like all of the underwater shots that happen in there are just so great. And the cinematography is so great there that it really wins me over. Plus, it doesn't hurt that we did go back and forth a bit on the script. I mean, we went a bit loose on the script. Steve sends
Paul
me this
is the
message.
cheap
Yeah.
gag man.
I
Anytime
love me a
want
cheap gag.
well, you want to fill your script with some zingers, you kick it over to Paul Loebscher. I'll do all the kind of the straight stuff, the explanation, the exposition, the technical speak. But when it comes to writing a good punchline, Paul's the man.
Oh, thank you, dude. That's always cool to hear. I appreciate that.
It also
And I
bumps
think-
us up into a PG category because
Yeah,
there've been one or two
that comes
comments.
with it.
One or two comments saying like, "I thought this was safe to show my kids," and then there was that line at whatever it was, 6 minutes 42.
But whatever, like their kids don't. I mean, it's like what? Like their kids don't watch TV. Like whatever. Something I do want to say about scripting, and I'm not saying like I'm this amazing script writer or anything. I'm by no means am I that.
Whoa, he's saying he's an amazing scriptwriter, guys.
But that is
Heard
something
your
that has been jumping out at me a lot recently. In the last few years with films, especially having been in the production side of like animation and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to name drop this because I don't want to be controversial, but there was a film festival done in South Africa recently with a couple of short films. And even though they were visually impressive and they were beautiful to watch, the scripting was naff as all shit. And that really hurts it. So like you can have the best visuals ever, but if the dialogue is kind of not fun and not energetic, it loses something. And so that's one thing I feel like with this one that kind of came out quite nicely is that the scripting came out quite nicely. And that's not just me, that's Stephen and myself, like, going back and forth on things. But I really like the scripting on this, and not just this one, but all the GI Joburg stuff. I've always felt we've had pretty fun scripting. The fact that people quote it in comments is proof of that. And so that's always been a happy accident and something that I feel this specific one does well. I mean, when we got people commenting going, "Oh, I thought this was PG and my kids can't watch it because of that line." Well, that's great because that line hit. That worked. It wasn't like because dudes at this film festival, there were jokes being thrown in some of these episodes, and they landed. They just fell flat. It was just like, here's a joke, and everybody's like, "Oh, shut! Don't catch that." So anyway, little bit of backpatting there for us. Moving along, I enjoyed it. Rob, what are your thoughts, man? Like, because I know
You
that
enjoyed
you
being controversial. Oh my God, Paul. This is our content is meant for everyone. Kids, adults, grandparents, they should all be able to enjoy it without feeling threatened by lines that attack them.
Well, Rob,
I
no
really
one has
enjoyed it.
accompanied me on these shoots more than you have. So you know
for
how
sure.
arduous these things can sometimes be. In fact, all these locations I think you've been to, except
I think
maybe
I've been
maybe
to one
not
of those locations.
Hermanus.
Not the Hermanus. I've never accompanied you guys to Hermanus. Never. But
Well, the significance of Hermanus, if I may just add that
please
into the
do.
mix, is this
Yeah,
is my
ad lib.
childhood bug, and it's being played with in the same lagoon, in the same rock pool as I played with it as a child on my family vacation. So it has enormous nostalgic significance for me to go back to that same spot this time, 30 years later, and play with my
Rock it
toy,
out.
my same toy.
Yeah, reenact something from your childhood for the the interwebs, as it were.
And
There's
myself. my own posterity.
And for yourself too.
This is
I love this.
Musenberg, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask, isn't this Musenberg? Because I've been
What-
there and I
here's-
recognize some of that. So
Here's a peek behind the magic of the filmmaking. You never see the bug and the whale in the same space because they were shot on different days in completely different locations. This is the limitation of having to do this on my own. Sadly, I mean, there's the height of the Christmas period. Paul had gone home. Rob, you were probably with family. Like, there was no ways I could kind of. And also, I was very much under the pump of family obligations. So, like, literally, if I could sneak 45 minutes of the family beach day to tear off to a rock pool and do this, I would have to. There was no ways I could call in a friend. There was no scope for that kind of planning. So the trade-off is you never see the two vehicles in the same frame, which is
and there I think is some of the
sadness.
magic.
Really?
Magic.
Yeah,
Do you agree,
I
Rob?
feel,
Cooler.
I
I would have loved to see them fighting each other, but I mean, the thing is, like through editing, you don't even realize. But
yeah,
how does
I was gonna
Paul? How do you
say
feel about
it.
this?
It's got the Jaws effect, man. It's like you don't see the shark, you feel the shark's presence. I feel
Mm.
like that is in here. Like you know, you got this great shot. You got some amazing shots of the whale doing its thing, and now you don't have the bug to distract it. You just know stuff's going down. It tells a story. It gives the view, fills the viewer's imagination with something, whether they are aware of it or not. And then when you've got the bug going in here, then you know that stuff's going on above it. I just that's how I felt it was. Maybe I'm just too lenient on things like that, but for me, that was the part of the magic is that you don't see them in the same scene. Perhaps if they were in the same scene, I know it would have been done magically, and I'd be proven wrong. But that's just something. I also, and this is a complete side note, but there's a great little feature. If you guys watch this video, there's a great feature to the bug that's kind of its secret feature, and Steve shows it off beautifully in this play motion. Is when you submerge the bug under the water, and then you let it go, and it kind of comes up naturally, and it doesn't, it doesn't list. It's really cool to see it like coming up to the surface. That
Your bug rolls onto its back, as I recall. I remember
mine is a bastard.
filming the review with your one, and I was like, why does it keep rolling over? Bloody hell. So it's
yeah, I
letting
don't know.
water in somehow. This is sort of in an awkward position.
Gotta fix
Yeah,
it.
fortunately, my childhood one does do this very magical, like, realistic rise to the surface.
What's the Action Force European version? It's from Greece.
Yes.
They made them
it
better
is
in Greece.
Oh, interesting. Oh, by the way, I decided to make the Wales Bofors sort of big guns depth charge launchers because I cribbed that from Avatar 2, Way of Water. I thought that was the
Right.
coolest idea to have these cannons that would fire depth charges over distance and then bring them down on your opponent.
It's pretty
Which
smart.
it's kind of cooler than having to like directly sail over the target area, and also allows me the shorthand of like kind of doing these things remotely, not have them kind of intersect. Yeah.
Something. Also, Steve, I don't know how much you want us to go behind the scenes with this, but
all the way,
when we were-
baby.
You
If
don't
you've got
know.
an anecdote,
Oh my
please. Now's your time.
when we were doing this, so when we started the scripting for this, and Steve had basically just said like, "This is kind of what's going down. Would you mind coming up with some like spice for the script and stuff?" And at that point there was like no script. It's just like throw out some ideas, whatever's blue sky. So I had this completely different vision of how this was going down. And
what did you
it had
expect was the storyline, Paul?
So for me, it was this whole like they were looking for the bug. So I was expecting these longer moments of quiet where it was very character driven, like very, these guys are getting a little bit annoyed, kind of again like Jaws. They're looking for the shark, and so these personalities are kind of meshing a little bit. And then when it got to the actual bug, in my mind somehow, I imagined that the team managed to get into the bug. And
Whoa! Talk about fighting in tight spaces.
yeah,
Gee.
and so there was this whole like, yeah, well, they managed to get the bug, and then there was like this whole fight, and then yeah, there was a bunch of stuff, and I'm hoping in a future episode we can actually do a proper commentary, and maybe as a bonus throw off the original script to the Patreons or something like that. Or maybe keep it for future things that we want to do. But yeah, it was so funny because like Steve comes back and he's like, well, and I'm misquoting him now, but like it's kind of like, okay, but I've already shot a lot of the footage, so this is not going to work. And I was like, oh fuck. So then as the script started fleshing out, I could start adding things. And then we had quite a bit of back and forth about Mara as well, which was pretty cool.
This is the direct result of watching Mike the Hunter's play motions, and how he didn't just kind of end after the action resolved. He would have a denouement with the good guys and the bad guys, and it just served to cap off the film. Gave it a very filmic quality. This wasn't just toys being smashed together. This was a narrative that had a start, a middle, and an ending. Okay, we didn't focus on the bad guys, but, well, I suppose the Bug Commander did have his moment as he cackles and leaves. But we close out on a moment with Shipwreck, and that just gave rise to like, okay, Shipwreck's going to be letting someone know that he succeeded in his mission. Is it going to be the Admiral? Boring. Let's work in Shipwreck's clandestine love interest. Which is fun because she's a Cobra operative and could possibly have been responsible for tipping the Joes off as to where the bug would be. So yeah, if you think about it as a straight up fight between these two opponents, it wasn't. Shipwreck, he cheated.
Yeah, but that's how it should be. He does cheat at cards. That's how it should be played.
Yep.
I remember a while back when I'd gotten my Tiger Force Shipwreck around that time. I was thinking of ideas for like how to incorporate him into the story and all this stuff. And for me, the idea of a phone booth was kind of a big thing as well. Like he had a handler, and we didn't know who the handler was, and he was being told to like do this and do that and the next thing. And I liked the idea, and Steve, I think I've discussed this with you. I liked the idea of it being, we weren't really sure if Shipwreck was doing stuff for the good or the bad guys at the time. And and then just to like juice it up a little bit, I did want Hawk involved somehow. And then we recently covered that awesome issue of the October Guard in the
6
original
and 7, yeah,
6 and 7, where Hawk is also doing that kind of shit. And I was like, yeah, that could work. And yeah, then so this the whole phone booth thing, it's quite cool because Steve and I never discussed this original idea. This was all post, like a lot of our discussions about the phone booth and things came after you had shot a lot of stuff, and it was interesting to see how you and I were on the same psychic plane because the phone booth thing is such a great idea, and it really rings true to me in a big way, pun intended, by the way.
I've always liked the idea put forth by the cartoon, actually, that the G.I. Joe versus Cobra struggle does not happen in a world like ours. It happens in this kind of cartoon existence where nations are not as clearly defined. There are entire parts of the world that can be completely Cobra controlled, like a Cobra controlled nation or city, even perhaps within the same geographical location as the United States. So there's kind of like a land border between, you're now leaving American territory and entering into like Cobra held territory. It goes deeper than just Springfield. Cobra doesn't have to be covert about it. They can be overt about it. They can have recruitment stations and like officers, bars, and like it's all very patently bad place for a G.I. Joe to find themselves. And Shipwreck is the kind of guy that can kind of slip in and out of these spaces because he's not, he's chaotic good. He's kind of able to do what is necessary for the mission and be a bit of a... Exactly, yeah. I keep coming back to it, but like I've really... it's become a new love affair, a new kind of obsession that I have with the character because he, in a pantheon of G.I. Joe characters who are A-type personalities, absolute Boy Scouts, he is not that. And he is essential because of it. Anyway, that I think wraps up what I wanted to say about Bug Hunt. I'm delighted to see its success. Thank you also to Alan Grant for whipping up an awesome Lego phone box in record time. Like literally
Yeah.
after giving him the assignment. Actually, I put it out to the the Brisbane GI Joburg crowd, and all three of them jumped at the bit. Zazel Phoenix, in fact, Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse, he's got some Lego on him. But Alan was the one who came through in like 20 minutes flat with something that looked
Jeez.
as identical to the reference photograph as I imagine Lego can possibly be. So props, dude.
And I think even Kimmy featured in this feature a little bit in her little diorama, little
Yep.
housey things. Like she likes building those things. Speaking of which, I really want to build some of those. They look amazing. But
Sort of like bought it at an arts and crafts store in like a box. All the components are there, but like it is heavy on the fabrication. Like you are
it's
making coffee cups out of rolled up pieces of paper that you've glued together, and
I love it.
bending metal and making trellises with individual like sticks of wood. It's crazy.
I love that so much, and it just it's just the cherry on the cake for that scene as well. You know,
Bit of
like
texture.
it just also the scale again and the whole vibe. I love that you had it like I don't even know where you shot. It looks like on the side of the road basically, and the
It
car
is.
lights hitting it. Oh fuck, it's so beautiful. It's such an atmospheric shot. Love
I
it.
packed a spotlight for some downlight, but it proved to be too strong, so I just shot it under actual street light, which normally would be really scrubby and potatoey. But I have a very, very good phone at the moment, boys. Good lord.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No flexing here, yo.
The majority of this was shots with an iPhone 8 and a GoPro, but that last little epilogue with Shipwreck was the new Royal Highness iPhone 14. Whoa!
Whoa! This is whoa.
And
Apple, please sponsor us.
and also Steve, like and I mean I know I normally do this whenever we do some kind of commentary or something, so I'm sorry. I know it makes you feel a bit awkward, but again, like kudos to your eye and the way you compose a lot of the shots. I really love that. They're really beautiful shots. They really take you into a whole new world. That phone booth shot is also one of my favorites. Never mind in the episode, but in the whole pantheon of the GI Joburg productions, should we say? Because it just has a lot of texture and a lot of depth, and I really it's really cool to see you do stuff like that. It's always a surprise, and I think that's another thing people liked is like we're seeing the skills of these productions, or should I say the value of these productions grow, but within their own space, and like the dramatic angles and the interesting little things that happen in these episodes is great. And so so that's a compliment to you, my dude. You kicked ass. Your eye was really good here. You made some great decisions.
You have good eyes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks all around, guys. Like, I'm just playing with my toys, to be honest. I'd rather be doing it with you two gents, but
Indeed,
this isn't a bad substitute to be able to play them in front of the camera and then discuss it and get into the nuts and bolts of it with you guys. So this is such an important part of the process, and I really enjoy talking about it with both of you and sharing our conversation with the world. So thank you, GI Joburgers.
With the world.
Yeah. Shall we?
Big Force.
Shall we talk about some comic books? Oh no, cartoons.
Cartoons.
We're doing some cartoons this week.
Whoa.
We have undertaken to read the classic comic book series from issue 1 and also from issue 300 and meet somewhere in the middle. But we're also watching the cartoon series from,
I
suppose, the beginning of the syndicated show, and also watching the end of G.I. Joe in animation, which happened to be the 2010-2011 G.I. Joe Renegades series. So I would like to ask you two gentlemen, which of these two episodes would you like to discuss first? On the slab, we have the classic Sunbow animation episode entitled Cobra's Creatures. And in the Renegades camp, we've got Busted.
Wow, do we want to eat vegetables or shit first? I don't know.
Oh, Rob. Yes,
Oh, here we go.
I was
By
like,
all
we've
means,
just
Rob,
been
I want
speaking.
to. I want you to eat shit first. Eat it.
We spoke about the merits of having a non-A type character in the playmotion, and that's why I feel like Renegades should be the first one we speak, because we have some non-A type and A type character types going up against each other, so to speak, or rubbing off
Incredible.
against each other in that episode. So I feel like
Rubbing
it's
against each
a good
other. My
segue.
goodness.
Okay, so what is it?
Let's go to jail,
Episode
guys.
8? Is it episode
Yeah.
8? Episode 8 of
Uh,
Renegades Busted. Rob, what happened in this episode, man?
Oh my goodness. So the GI Joes are trying to fix their van because apparently, use proprietary technology to keep
Apple
it
van.
working. Apple van.
iVan.
And they get busted along with
Not
the
Russian.
people
Sorry. Carry on.
they get busted along with the people they're trying to buy these parts from. And unfortunately, Duke is a little slow tonight, and he gets captured and sent to jail. And the rest of the Joes kind of have to like get him out because he's such a an idiot.
But it's not just any jail.
It's not just any jail. It's like it's just like Fight Club jail.
Fight jail.
The warden has to force people to fight each other. So he makes money over the internet, and yeah, they send Roadblock in. They purposely put him in jail. Also, Snake Eyes were very slow in this episode. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, eventually Flint and Lady J finally get to like have like words or be in the same scene as the GI Joes. They catch up to them, but they manage to get away once again. And we get to see a dog, so that was cool. They introduced Martin Junkyard into Renegades, I guess.
Do they?
Isn't
Nah,
it
they
Law and Order?
Well, it could be Law and Order, I guess, but he's not an MP. That's he's just a regular
Very
It's
good.
just a P.
police officer.
But
yeah,
he does at one point confront the warden, the corrupt warden, and say,
Mm.
"Some of us still believe in law and order," which is a bit of a heavy-handed hint as to who it was. Yes, if you are a file card aficionado, you would have known every time they refer to him as Levine that yes, his surname is Levine. on the file
okay,
card.
so they were just doing it wrong.
It's
they-
law, everybody.
This is a trope that I find that I actually forgot about, but having watched some James Bond movies recently, I see it's a bit of a James Bond trope.
Oh.
To announce the title of the movie in the film.
Yeah, that's the best
yeah.
moment ever.
Yeah, so
Mr.
Shit
Bond,
depends moment.
you will have to learn to live and let die.
exactly, and like this is definitely like a recurring theme in the Renegade stuff. They definitely, but with Joe names, not with titles. I mean, it's not like
Titles.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This episode is just rubbish. I really didn't enjoy it at all. Like they get thrown into jail for no reason whatsoever. It's like how did you how?
It's the
And Snake
it's
Eyes
an
goes-
indictment.
Doesn't really help them. Like he doesn't explain himself. Obviously he can't, but he can't coordinate what's happening quick enough to be able to get all of the Joes out. He can only help them like one at a time.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's kind of useless in this episode.
I thought it was an
I-
indictment on the American police system, but maybe if you
I
Yeah.
like this
Wow.
episode, boys.
Messaging. You quite like it. Okay, well, I'm glad
I-
someone does.
I did. Because
also
it was
liked
a
it.
it was
Incredible.
pretty fresh to me. Like
Mm.
if you're gonna do a GI Joe on the run episode, putting them in jail is great. And it's not a
Yeah,
Cobra prison necessarily. Like they can't go ham on the gods because these are still good guys. It's not, and there was some cute little nods too. But yeah, this was an interesting circumstance to see GI Joe operate, to have to actually infiltrate a correctional facility, and they task Scarlet with it. Initially, she
Which
plays.
you think is going to be like she's the spy. It's going to be really easy for her.
I
But
may have taken my camera,
they-
but they didn't get the camera in my earrings.
they
She
straight up
plays this
laughed.
bumbling attorney who can't remember what firm she's from. Like, why has Scarlett suddenly become inept at undercover work? It was bizarre to me that
Sure.
she couldn't pull off this role, not even barely adequately. But then she redeems herself by playing like trailer trash, complete with like a heavily pregnant belly, which
Yeah.
incidentally she keeps on. Like, I mean, I know
For
it's
the
because she
rest of
wants
the
to
episode.
sneak out eventually, but yeah, like when the prison break sequence kicks off and it's everyone for themselves, there's Scarlett's character model still running around with his belly.
She doesn't dump
Which
it.
which begs a question now, and Steve, this is pointed at you.
What?
So as an actor, aren't actors told not to act? You have to be the character. You know,
Yeah.
you do
Isn't that
something
how
that's
it works,
relatable.
Steven?
So maybe that's like
What are you
Scarlett's
asking here,
shit.
Paul?
I'm asking if Scarlett is a good actor. I mean, she's
Is
clearly
she a good
not.
actor?
She clearly like can't act as a lawyer, but somehow she can get in touch with her inner trailer trash
Which is
side.
bizarre. You'd expect she's like a procedural whiz, and that being common or down to earth or relatable is not in her like vocabulary. But the opposite is true in this episode. She totally fumbles being an attorney and having any kind of decorum. She like is panicking when being asked by the kind of receptionist at the prison, like, who are you here to see? Who do you represent? What's the name of your firm? I need to see some ID. And then again with the other character that she tries to fool with that guise. Anyway, she is able to inhabit that trailer trash,
Persona really well. Like, so either
very
she's a
well.
really like she
Makes
really
most.
hates Law and Order, or she really hates LA Law, but she loves watching Ricky Lake, and she really got into that whole vibe. Or maybe she joined GI Joe after she, had a bit of she got into a bender, and she decided, screw it, I'm going to join the army, and. I just felt that was so weird because even like as you're talking about it, like how poorly she acts as a lawyer, I was like, oh yeah. And then she takes on the role of trailer trash so well. I hate to say it like that, but I mean she was trying to be trash and the whole thing. And I was just like, shit, this is like way too comfortable for her. Backstories? Anyway, I also like this episode quite a lot. I felt like it
Amazing.
I felt like for a cartoon, it was great, and that it was kind of what's the word? Like it was self-contained, which was great. It would have also been a pretty good script for an let's say early 2000s John Cena movie.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it could have been
Totally.
fun. Maybe even a blockbuster 90s movie. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that tunnel ratting. Roadblock was mansplaining. It was good.
Roadblock was fighting Duke in the arena of
Arena
sport.
of
Did you guys
sport.
catch that? Like
Yes.
the warden or someone, one of his heavies, throws Duke in. And he's like, put him in the arena of sport, which of course is a nod to the Adventures of GI Joe, the first miniseries.
Yeah.
Exactly. And such a cool little. I also love how like dark that is. Like this show's got lots of little like dark undertones. This whole
Yeah,
like
pit
fighting
fighting
ring.
for online sports betting. Like, yeah, it's that shit happens, man. It's bad news. Did you guys also notice that in addition to there always being this kind of Asian flute sting for Snake Eyes, which persists in this episode as well, they've now they've now got this like Spanish guitar and caracas or maracas for Lady J.
Lady J.
Oh no.
Ding. I
Sueño.
mean, okay, it's pretty basic bitch coding. I mean, let's forgive it. It was 2010, guys. It was
Yeah.
another time.
Yeah.
It was pretty straightforward composition, I guess. It's like, when you see a character, we need a theme for the character. Let's just, But I think,
What do you guys think of Lady J being reset as a Latinx?
I think it kind of makes sense in the way that there is kind of like this stereotype of Latin families being very close, being very big families, I think. And she does come from, I mean, her characters always come from a background having a very big family and being like the. Has she been characterized like the big sister who kind of takes care of the brothers? Was that a thing or not?
Oh wait, do you think of Scarlet?
Scarlet, yeah.
Oh no, with Lady J.
Oh, not at all. Oh, no,
Yeah.
wait. Am I talking about? Oh shit, we're talking about Lady J. Fuck, sorry. I really didn't pay attention to the episode. I really hated it. Oh, we're talking about Lady
Oh,
J.
sorry, Rob.
Sorry, I wasn't
Yeah,
paying
well,
attention at all. Oh, Lady J. I think that's fine. I think it's neither here nor there. I mean, it's, I suppose, to get the cast to be more representative of America in general. I mean, you would probably have more Latin people in there. So I don't mind the changing of the character. Damn, I thought you meant Scarlet. That's why I was so confused.
I
it was a good justification anyway.
Yeah,
You
no,
got-
for
you
sure.
got the right foot on the wrong character.
Oops. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
like
yeah,
Lady
you
J
guys
being
give an
Latino.
actual
I'm
opinion.
Latin
going to
maybe
take your
I'll
arguments and adapt it to the current situation and say, yeah, like Lady J is looking after her family, which extends beyond duty. She is secretly looking out for Duke because she
Yeah.
believes in him. So
Yeah, I think that
it's
makes
a cool
sense.
angle, and yes, I mean, if you are to take that as a trope of Latin families, cool, yeah, that works. I like the diversity of the voice casting as a result.
Yeah.
I mean, in classic GI Joe, you had Zap maybe, and that was it. They didn't give Shipwreck a Latin sounding voice approach,
and he's a
even though he
Delgado.
is. Well,
Yeah.
exactly, but he's a very
Big
white
Spanish.
Delgado, so I guess he just inherited the surname. It's not necessarily kind of a indication of his race or his ethnic background.
Yeah, ethnicity. I personally like Lady J being Latinx, but then I also like Lady J having Irish origins. So I feel like you got two very strong character backgrounds there, and it's weird to like replace one with the other for me. But I like having both. Like I like that there's
Has
two versions
Lady
of Lady J.
J's Irish lilt ever been portrayed though? I don't think it has.
It hasn't been, but she has got an American Irish lilt to her though. Like
Does she?
the way, yeah, she kind of does. Like the way she
You're
like
speaking in
says
classic
things.
Sunbow terms.
I'm speaking in classic Sunbow terms, yeah.
Okay.
So I've always felt that, when you watch like older movies, when I say older movies, when I watch movies that are set in like New York, when it was a lot about the Irish there, and then the way the women speak, that sort of Irish American kind of New Yorker kind of accent, it's difficult for me to fully explain, but it is there. I feel like Lady J kind of has that. The same way I feel like Scarlett O'Hara has Scarlett O'Hara's accent. Like she played, or should I say, Shauna O'Hara has the Gone with the Wind kind of twang
Scarlett
to her.
O'Hara.
To her, yeah. But it's
I don't know,
Shauna
man.
O'Hara.
I didn't
But
get any Irish from Mary McDonnell Lewis's portrayal. All I got was like a voice actor who probably smoked a pack of Stuyvesant before stepping into the booth.
yeah, see,
American Irish.
I get that
It's
feel.
less
I don't know what it is. I
obvious.
just feel like that's got kind of an Irish sound to it, and I'd love for, like, I mean, that's just to my ear. We're not in America. We didn't grow up in America. We don't have a
For
lot of
sure.
these accents around us all the time
Well, we
that we
grew
can
up watching
properly
tons
distinct.
of American movies. I mean,
We
might as
did,
well have
but a lot
grown
of the
up in America.
yeah, but a lot of the time that stuff is acted and whatever's, and you know, so it's performed. So sometimes it's not always like true. But I
If
just
you
feel like
compare
our
Lady
American
J's-
listeners could comment
If
on
you
this
compare
nicely.
Lady J's vocal approach to Blowtorch's, who is very like typified,
Boston.
is it? Oh, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
this,
very-
isn't it? 3 pound 35 and the leprechaun stole my lucky charms.
No, barbecue is very
Blowtorch,
Boston.
sorry. I meant
Blowtorch.
Blowtorch, the other guy who deals with fires, who dishes them out instead of putting
Snake
them out.
Eyes.
Oh,
Snake
wait,
Eyes.
hold on.
Blowtorch.
Blowtorch, I can't recall, but
He-
What?
We heard him speak in that episode when he tried to take out Destro.
Oh, I
Yes,
need to get
okay,
him.
that's right. Yes, yeah.
And he
Yeah, that's true.
But then-
torches a stack of boxes and makes the cobras fall over. I mean, send a guy with a flamethrower to do
Barbecue
non-lethal
that's
work.
got the
Very
Boston
useful.
sounding accent. Barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love barbecue's
barbecue.
accent. Love that so much.
But Blowtorch has
Um,
also a very caricaturish voice, doesn't he?
he certainly
For
does.
sure.
And
Hmm.
I can't respond in kind because mine will be bad and insulting, so I'm just not going to.
My point is, if they wanted to push the envelope on Lady J's accent, to push her into an Irish,
Yeah,
it's
they
just
would have been
a flavor.
more
It would have been more
obvious with
heavy-handed.
it. There isn't subtlety in the accents of the characters in cartoons. They
But
would have
here
been, like,
it is a
on the
thing.
nose. Just
In
boom.
Renegades, it is on the nose. It is so in your face, and I'm
She's
here for it. I like
Latino.
it.
She's
Yeah.
definitely
Also-
from the background.
Now we're diverting a little bit far now, so I apologize.
Oh
for
yeah,
this, but in the
this
Sunbow
episode is so
show,
interesting. We're not even talking about it. Wow.
in the Sunbow show, Lady J does go back. I believe she does go to Ireland to go in.
Isn't it Scotland when she goes to find the sword?
It's no, she goes to go
No,
in.
That's
Destro?
just castle.
It's a
Yeah,
castle that her and Destro that has been
owned together.
man. Why are my words failing me today? It's been they have she has inherited a castle
Yes.
from her family, and
Rob,
if
bring
we
up
find
that.
out-
Bring up that score sheet. We're gonna get to that episode, Paul. Not
Yeah,
tonight.
so
but
I
we're
don't
gonna
want to get into
Definitely
too.
going to get to that.
But anyway,
episode
that at least speaks of
Don't
Lady J's
ruin it
heritage as well in terms of
before
the
we get
Sunbow
there.
show.
I
But
want to
Latin
see a
X,
spreadsheet. Yeah, there it is.
Latin Lady J is very sexy. So
So
putting that out
busted
there.
for me. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Wow.
I quite like it.
Generous.
Hmm.
Very generous.
I'm gonna stick with a 3 on this one.
Oh, wow. I have a one
I
all
enjoyed
over
it,
my
man.
side.
Rob's gonna give it like 5.
-5.
No, I
What?
like if I compare it to Return of the I want to say Rishikage. I don't know. It's an okay episode. I think overall it kind of like it does deliver its premise. So it kind of like lives within it. They do try a bunch of things, and I think overall it does work as an episode. So I don't think it's awful. I think it just didn't interest me personally. I think that's all that's going on here. So
So you just
I'm
didn't
probably
like
just-
it, Rob.
I think I just didn't. I'm gonna go middle of the road with this one, 2.5. I think I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't like it overall. That's me. I don't have to like everything.
No, that's true, guys.
It
I
is.
mentioned when we entered speaking about this episode, I said something about an atypical and a non-atypical character, kind of bashing up
Ooh.
against each other,
Who
and I
we
didn't
think
even
they
mention
were?
it for this episode. So you got Scarlett who actually calls Duke the Boy Scout because she's
Really
like the Boy Scouts on one of his crusades again kind of thing. And she is quite happy to just get what she needs to and go, And then early on, when they realize that when Duke has the stark realization that he's in a chop shop, oh my god, his mommy's gonna come and give him 5 pats on the bum. Scarlett's all like, be cool, Duke. Her whole vibe is like, be cool, Duke. Stop being a doll.
Calm down.
Don't be a nerd now. And I love that because Scarlett has kind of taken on the role now of the sort of Han Solo shipwreck kind of character in a lot of ways. She's not on the line.
I'm gonna fight you
She's
on that,
her own
Paul.
line.
I'm gonna fight you on that. Like Scarlett's always kind of been stepping outside of authority. She's like, I don't have a warrant to go to this Cobra Pharmaceuticals lab, but once I expose them, everyone's gonna be on their case. Like I'm going AWOL here. I'm going rogue. And Duke's been the voice of like, this is not in our orders. We should hand ourselves over to the authorities. We should do this. She's always the one saying, no, Duke, stick with me.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. She's exactly that.
Flip-flopping.
And it's not just in this episode. I mean, it's been consistent in this series that she's like that. Yeah.
But
I'm
then
just saying
Duke
it's consistent
goes
for her to
jail.
call Duke the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I just thought
good.
it was just fun for her to do it again. And then
Oh,
also
yeah.
for the Boy Scout to be the
That's
one in
pretty
prison. So,
Yeah.
and him having to get hard. You know.
Paul, do you want to tell us about Cobra's creatures?
Ooh,
I do want to tell you about Cobra's creatures. So
please do.
Cobra wants to once again take over the world using a new device called the High Frequency Emitter. And this controls the minds of animals. So it turns animals into slaves of Cobra. And in order for them to actually be able to use it, they have to save Dr. Lucifer. Correct me if I'm wrong here. They have to go and rescue, or should I say, extract Dr. Lucifer's, what we believe is his lover, but it's actually just his weird crush, Attila, who is this very scary looking woman, out of prison, so that they can actually use the High Freak. So hilarity then ensues as Cobra go on a mission to go and do exactly that. After they've done a successful test of capturing Junkyard, who is doing his first parachute jump because the Joes have clearly got fuck all else to do but throw dogs out of aeroplanes. And so the Joes are trying to A, stop Cobra from, getting this woman, B, stop the High Freak. Mutt is having a major conscience major crisis, life crisis, now that his dog is turned against him, and he is now in the jungles trying to sort that shit out. And it all comes to a bit of a head. So Rob absolutely hated this episode. I, on the other hand, love it for its ridiculousness. I especially love the fact that Cobra goes out of their way to use a giant net to catch a dog that's been thrown out of a plane, because at least they care about the dog's safety. They were like, oh my God, GI Joe's throwing dogs out of planes. They're not going to miss this one. Let's just catch it and go.
Let's keep it
it's
safe.
mad.
We
It's
need
so mad.
a dog to experiment on. Let's go grab a highly trained military dog from the secret, military unit. Instead
let's
of
not
just
go
going
to the
like
pet shop. Yeah.
Exactly.
A mutt
You
off
know?
the street. Jeez.
Jeez. And
This one's too expensive.
And I want to bring up another round of, is Cobra's scheme plausible? Well, I would say yes. Like, can you imagine how
Wow.
devastating it must be if you had to control animals and get them to attack people?
What
and you
I
could just cause
find
mass
strains believability with this particular approach, okay, assuming you're able to work out the science of getting animals to do your bidding and make them your army, essentially. Insects are one thing. They outnumber us hundreds of thousands to one, if not
Yeah.
millions to one.
Yeah.
However, Cobra seems to have picked several endangered species. For instance, rhinoceroses have encircled the Houses of Parliament in England.
The United
Okay.
Kingdom, which is an island.
I can only imagine on the entire nation of England, there may be a couple of hundred rhinoceroses in
If
zoos.
that.
If that.
If that.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
there's probably
that.
like 40.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's
that's
just
all of
one
them there.
example of absurdity. Like, there are sperm whales that are encircling like tankers out at sea. There are lions that are coming up on some oil derricks. Presumably, they're oil derricks in Africa, but all the
Mhm.
I'd
people
hope so.
manning them are white, which maybe I suppose Shell
the
did have a lot
80s.
of. Yeah. There were a lot of oil
It was
derricks.
the 80s. Yeah.
Interesting. But
Well,
look,
a problem
it's
with this
bonkers.
device, it seemed like they could only control one type of animal at a time. Like you couldn't control cockroaches as well as lions simultaneously. Like you push the button for lions, you control them, and then you have to move on if you want to do something else with bears. That's kind of like a weakness in the design of this thing. Dr. Lucifer didn't, consider multitasking when you want to take over the world with animals.
Oh, Paul's muted himself.
No, just 'cause I was
He's
typing.
just so
Sorry, guys.
upset. He's so upset
I-
at my suggestion that this high freak is useless.
Well, like never mind just like animals, like just insects. If I had to just think of insects and how deadly insects are, like if you just could control colonies of ants, I mean, you could level a city in like a week. Like, and I'm not even
Oh, for
joking. If you
sure.
see how much,
I mean, you can go absolutely crazy with. I mean, especially insects. But what's also is would this
could
device
spread
not work on
disease.
people as well? I mean, is the show saying people aren't animals?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, why doesn't the high freak work on animals? Or is this a pre-test, to see if we can get it? I mean, why does it only work exclusively on animals and not on human beings? If you could tune this frequency to, take over the minds of, and I love that there's a camel button in the episode because those things are deadly. They can be, but like, yeah, why not just control human beings?
Because it doesn't just work against mammals. It works with insects. It works, with reptiles. It can work with everything. So why could it not work with human beings?
I think Cobra. I think one of Cobra Commander's biggest flaws is that he just likes a little bit of a challenge, and I think he screws himself up
likes
like
the
that.
gimmick. He likes the gimmick.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, animals, interesting.
Yeah,
Yes, let's do it. And he just gets lost in the details.
Like, but my dear Cobra Commander, we have nuclear bombs. They are amazing. Nah, I don't want nuclear bombs. I want people eating animals, man. Like,
I want to control a koala as it slowly sneaks up.
I want to see a koala like scratch off a child's face. And they are quite vicious. And I want to have monkeys like throwing poo at people. Yes, it'll be great. And pigeon airstrikes. Just and the list can go on. It's actually quite devastating. And I imagine whoever wrote this episode, or rather, should I say, I imagine that when this episode was written, there was a rerun of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds on late night TV while this writer was going through clearly going through some kind of whiskey and cocaine binge. And we're very thankful for you, by the way. Like, I don't endorse cocaine or alcohol, but when it gives us award-winning gems like this, then it's difficult for me to deny. Yeah, please, but knock yourself out. But also just coming back to the actual human story. Can you imagine your like dogs turning on you just all of a sudden, and how like
as a dog owner, I imagine that was because they really get into the conflict between mutt and junk, and the voice actor is giving a hell of a great performance. Just selling he cares for his dog.
Yeah, man.
Come on, junk. Come on, boy. Don't you remember me? Like it's gripping stuff. So Paul, as a dog owner, surely that kind of resonates with you, doesn't it?
Oh, big time. Big time. And I'm not just like a dog owner. I'm one of those like weird dog owners that like, has WhatsApp groups for when people lose their dogs and like try to help people find their dogs. Because, my mother's like that as well. I've adopted this mindset. It's crazy. Anyway, but yes, I totally feel that. And I really feel for Mutt. I was like, oh my God, And then also the shocking revelation that there isn't just one timber, that there's clearly a factory that produces timbers. Because they unleash a whole bunch of timbers on is it Russia? I think it was Russia. Like if you look at all the models for the dog, it's all timber.
It's just timber.
I thought that was quite funny.
But
for someone who works in animation, surely you can appreciate the time crunch. Like, now we got one style sheet for a wolf. Let's run it.
Yeah, no, knock yourselves out, guys. Yeah, I feel sorry for animators.
If we are going to speak about the animation, I want to have an anecdote, and that is the fact that this is an episode of the cartoon that I saw directly after seeing the movie. This was included on the DVD copy of GI Joe the movie that I had.
Oh, cool.
Which makes this an episode of the cartoon which was it was the second episode of the cartoon that I'd ever seen. because the first
Yeah.
episode, Cobrathon, existed on a
Yeah, I
cassette
think
tape.
these 2 episodes are the 2 that we probably watched the most. That and
So Cobra's
Cobrathon.
creatures seemed very crude and very old-timey, having come from the movie into this season 1 cartoon episode. So like
Yeah.
that added a veneer of like, wow, this feels really, really early GI Joe. Like, when was this made? I mean, it's got Scarlet. I think
70s.
I know Scarlet, but this Ripcord guy that she's chained up next to, I've never seen that figure before. I don't know who that character is. I've never heard of him. And
You
not to
got
mention the
Animal
fact that the
Companion.
animation was less detailed as a result, and you know, as I say, pretty crude and very nuts and bolts.
It's an unfortunate
of the
inclusion
episodes.
with the movie. They could have actually chosen a more bombastic episode, really.
But so that's interesting because on my Action Force videotape of the GI Joe movie, it's got Sink the Montana after the credits.
Oh.
Yeah, so they
Huh.
must have, like, I think it depends on which master they used when they made the DVD, but that must have been like a bit of an Easter egg that they put into the thing. But yeah, Cobra's Creatures is I would say not the most polished episode, but it does use a lot of different characters, which is quite interesting. Like,
Interesting
so I think
animation error. Like, I think this
Yeah.
was a very early episode on their schedule, because the Silver Mirage is well established in other episodes in season 1. But here, you see these green, weird bikes that have a sidecar that accepts an occupant, but it's kind of like you can see their feet through the, like, beneath the weapon. Anyway, it's a different looking vehicle. But guys, let me just tell you, all sins are forgiven when you see the moment Snake Eyes and Spirit elect to be on a team together, which is just sublime. Pairing those two up make so much sense to me.
we
Snake
know
Eyes is a
such
tough
men.
sell. Yes, exactly. The sage-like wisdom from Spirit. But Snake Eyes is always going to be a problematic character in terms of putting him in your infantry squad, because not being able to communicate presents a problem. However, when you pair him up and his animal with Spirit and his animal, you've got this awesome foursome that you'd like to think communicates non-verbally anyway. There's just a kind of an understanding between these creatures and men, and they just get it done. Especially when it's marching themselves into this castle as the prisoners of their pets. Balls out the bathtub crazy, and I love it. I love it. I love the fact that the
they
blue
came up
shirt
with that
guard,
idea.
the blue shirt who kind of accepts the prisoners, he's like, you know what to do with them animals. Take them to the cells. Like, he trusts these two animals implicitly, Freedom and Timber. He's like, yeah, okay, you brought them this far. Just, walk them over to
You
the
know
cells.
what to do. Take it to the
Like,
cells.
what the hell is this? Some new procedures that have been written at Cobra Base? It isn't even Cobra Base. It's Dr. Attila's Dr. What's that? Dr. Lucifer's castle.
Castle.
He's very keen. He's already got like Cobra motifs above the drawbridge. But anyways,
And
they've written
Packrats.
some new like procedures to, like, if you see any enemies that are being escorted by animals, just assume that the animals are on our side.
Also,
Yeah.
exactly. That was the memo, the morning memo. Also, some interesting like little things in this episode is the use of the pack rats.
Yeah.
The one, well, I want to say it's a pack rat. It looks like a pack rat vehicle.
Machine gun pack rat. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was like fun. Also notable episode for some Snake Eyes action. You very. I've said it before, but you very seldom see Snake Eyes actually kick or punch or do anything in the episodes. Even though he's like people's favorite characters.
Which is
Or
great that we
people's
get him
favorite
in
character.
2 episodes in a row where he gets to do stuff. Wasn't it Jungle Trap where he did a ton of stuff as well?
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
Kick,
that was
punch,
pretty cool.
fly a falcon glider with a wolf attachment. Very, very cool. It's cool seeing the falcon glider at night. Up against a starry sky. It's very atmospheric stuff.
So this episode, like motivated me, and I suppose this is why the episode really worked. But when I watched this episode a while back, I had the box set, the GI Joe box set, and this episode came out, and then immediately I was on the Googles looking for a junk and Muckyard and junk. Mutt and junk got together.
Muckyard and junk. Nice.
Muckyard and junk. I was looking for that figure.
And
I
junk?
didn't
Mighty
find
Man
it.
and yuck.
No.
I didn't find a Muckyard, unfortunately, so I had to settle for Mutt and Junkyard. But it was okay. It's still a great toy.
Okay.
But yeah, I watched this
Second
episode
prime.
in the height of my modern era collecting. Well, should I say the genesis of my modern era collecting. So it was cool to sort of rediscover these characters and be like, okay, yeah, this guy, I definitely have to have this. And yeah, it's great. It brings back those memories. And then also kind of love Scarlett's deception kind of falling over itself. You know, she comes in and she's like, Dr. Lucifer, my darling. And he's like, who is this woman?
Yeah,
You
she's
notice
failing
a
and
theme
acting
here,
all over
gents?
this.
Yeah, Scarlett has failed to successfully work undercover in 2 episodes under consideration
Two
tonight.
separate series of G.I. Joe too.
Yeah,
Like,
so
she blunders
one,
it. Like, did she not expect that she would at least need to bone up on Professor Attila's and Dr. Lucifer's relationship? Like, she knew nothing. She thought she'd just bluster her way in there.
As
What
long
was
as I
her
look like
plan?
her, it's enough. Yeah. See, this is why Zartan is so good at what he does, because he does the research, you know.
he does the research. Exactly. He does the homework. You know, he's meticulous. He's smart. Also,
he should have come in to impersonate Attila.
and something, yeah, he should have, or even Junkyard, but with the glowing eyes and all. Guys, Doctor Attila, that woman
No,
that they use,
Dr.
that character model-
Lucifer.
Dr.
No,
Lucifer,
okay,
Professor
then-
Attila.
Professor Attila, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that character model is either used in the show again or is from the comic book. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, I feel like we've seen this character again, and maybe with a different name.
You're speaking about the male character, Dr. Lucifer.
Dr. Lucifer.
No, I'm speaking about
Or
Attila, the
Professor
woman.
Attila. The
Professor
lady.
Attila, the female character.
Yeah.
Okay, with the horn rimmed glasses and the little kiss spot. The
It
Cindy
feels like
Crawford mole.
it's a disguise that Baroness would wear, maybe.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe with a different hair color even. Yeah, it feels familiar.
Yeah.
In fact, it feels
but-
like Baroness, except maybe with a bit of a tan. And once again, with that mole. And her hair in a perm.
Mark
Because-
from our from the what do we call ourselves? The Berg Force. Makes a very good point, which is why I kind of like forgive this episode for being as goofy it is. It is a very goofy episode, he says, that works really well when you're a 9-year-old boy. This episode inspired me for many, many adventures. It fits a child's play pattern so well. And I think that's kind of like what makes the episode kind of fun, is that it's just so over the top goofy that you can kind of just go with it. Like, all the characters on screen are taking this seriously, from the guys in charge to the soldiers themselves, allowing animals to kind of like be given orders. I think, in general, this is, if you just go with the concept of the episode, you can just have a fun time with it.
And to bring in Mark specifically, something that I imagine he would have done as a child, this episode gives you license to scratch around in your toy box and pull out your toy animals. If you've got a molded, sculpted lion or rhinoceros or other stuff just sort of cluttering up your toy box, you can finally find an excuse and a license to bring them into your GI Joe toy play. Because if Cobra has all these animals at their disposal, they've increased their fighting force with these ferocious beasts. It is quite formidable, especially in a kind of child's mind.
I think
Also-
it's definitely also.
No, I was just gonna say, like, God forbid, like, one of your parents watches this episode and they think, oh, cool, they can just buy your packet full of plastic animals for you or GI Joes to shoot at.
Well, now they can. It's
they
cool. I think he hit the nail on the head. It's a goofy concept, but it's a concept that kids could wrap their heads around and enjoy. And I think it can inspire a lot of fun. So I think in that respect, it's a fantastic episode. but then it still has that kind of heart to it, where it is this kind of struggle between a man and his dog.
Yep.
So I'm not
And
saying
it's
it's
Kind of
like
struggle,
Yeah,
and
well,
I'm
it-
gonna give 3.5 out of 10 as well. No, 3.5
whoa,
out of
3.5
5.
out of 10. My God,
One.
Stephen, that's like the lowest score you've given anything so far. 3.5 out of 10.
I would like to,
Oh my
I would
God.
like to give this one a 4 out of 5 because I enjoy
Oh,
seeing some Snake Eyes action. Like actually
would
seeing
love
Snake
to
Eyes
give
do
it
something is always fun in an episode. I enjoyed the variety of vehicles, and the plot is just absolute nuts, and I can totally get behind that. And also the whole I love dogs. This
You
episode
really
got me to
do.
buy Button Junkyard, and
Hell yeah! Now you
it's just-
have Junk and Mutyard.
it's exactly
Fantastic.
exactly that, man. It's got the great animal. It's a great animal companion episode. In fact, if we weren't doing the ThunderWave, I would have I would have titled this like "Animals Gone Wild." for this
Yes,
episode. Yeah,
animals
because
go wild.
I think I need to moderate my score down.
Whoa,
I need to be
Steve,
mindful of the fact that
there's
like
other
this episode
scores.
didn't blow me away. There are episodes that really do it for me. For instance, Cobra Stops the World was such an episode. This is the same, but with animals thrown into the mix, and I think it's perhaps weaker for it. There are some laudable elements, as I say, Spirit and Snake Eyes being teamed up, awesome. Mutton Junkyard struggle, cool. But yeah, I just
She's saying at 1.5. Okay, got it.
bring it down a half mark to 3 out of 5. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if it having it be one of the first episodes that I also watched, it definitely does. It feels like I've always known about this concept of Cobra's creatures. So it feels like it's always lived inside my head, and it feels very much like something of what GI Joe is, even though I've never really had a chance, I suppose, to incorporate it into the way that I play with the toys, because I've never been a very big pet person. But yeah, I think it's overall it's a fun episode, and I would definitely also give it a 3. I think it's more fun than some of the episodes we've watched for sure.
Very good.
Yeah, I think overall, if you just go along with the concept, I mean, it can actually be just a good old good time.
good old good time, and that's what the whole Sambo show is really. It's a good old
In the
good
end,
time.
it's a bunch of
Light
adults
Down,
having
which I
fun
absolutely
writing
hate.
stories for children, and I think they a lot of the
Rob,
time they get it right.
are you really dicking around with the decimal points here?
It has to be
3.75, 3.8, 2,
yes,
4.8,
that's
3.
the exact 1.6. Yeah.
3.16. Oh my
Yes.
word.
Well, because then otherwise,
Why you
Cobra's
like
Creatures
this?
and Jungle Trap and Red Rocket's Glare, and that would all be 3.
Hmm.
That's wrong. Well, generally, I think I should actually just make it 1 decimal point. I think that would be much safer. But I feel like having 2 decimal points is more accurate.
We can
Gotta
also
be
kind of
We
we can hierarchy
Stop
these
doing
things
half
later
points.
and say, okay,
Oh,
so
for
Rob,
sure. We
you've
can do a
got
cool tier list.
six episodes that are all on 3.
Yeah.
Rank those. Anyways, that's further
Ah.
down the line.
We'll get
Gents,
there. We'll get there.
does anyone have any
Spin
new shit
cartoons.
kicking around?
Oh my God. Let me tell you, I don't.
I don't either, but Rob, you will have new shit
Whoa.
soon. I'm
Oh
not
my
showing any
goodness.
photos until you get yours. So
Ooh. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to you showing photos of the toys that I'm getting. I'm very happy.
Yeah,
for
no,
this.
I'm not going to show photos of the toys you get. I don't want to spoil
Well,
the Lady
Steven
J.
Steven has definitely side-eyed us because he's got new shit.
He's got new
He
shit.
can't wait to tell us about his new stuff.
I have become a bargain bin hunter.
Oh,
if it's
God.
going
Tell
for
us something
cheap,
new.
if it's going for cheap, I'm buying it. So today I picked up another Batman because Batmania is still raging in this household. It's I don't know what he's called, Combat Batman. Anyways, it's one of the Spin Master sort of basic happy kids toy Batmans with the blind boxed accessories, which is always fun.
Ooh.
Like even if they're
Yeah, that is
trash, it's fun to. In this instance, they're nicely sculpted, but none of them really belong to him. He's got this batleth. I suppose he could use, but Batman
The
would
bat
You
fly.
could use it as a giant batarang.
And then his other two accessories are clearly meant for Talon because they are Court of Owl looking things.
Ah, sword.
A sword
Cool.
and a very Court of Owl
Talon.
shield,
Yeah, that is definitely.
which then splits into two blunt objects that he can.
These accessories are cool.
All right.
Combat
But they're
Man.
done in that
I love
kind of.
that.
They're done in that bronze or copper plastic, which, as I say,
It's
works
innovative.
with
Cool. Combat
it works
Man.
with Talon, who I don't own. Sadly, I don't have the figure. Then
I don't even know who
Yes.
Talon is, and I'm okay with
Talon-
What?
that.
Court of Owls.
Court of Owls.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
Okay.
Court of
Don't care.
Owls. Yeah,
Don't
Court
It's
of
a
care.
Batman
Owls.
villain that existed in the last 20 years only. Paul doesn't care.
I don't care.
Nice Batman though. Good sculpting. It's a newish one. I think it's
It's pretty
2021.
decent.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We live
That
in a
was
realm where
$8.
there's a character called Batwing, so just carry on.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
So Batman was eight Australian. Then these two lovely ladies of the Force
Ooh.
were
yes.
$5 each. It's
Whoa.
Ayla Secura and
Sarge Ventress. No.
no
not
Barris
a-
something
Yeah.
Barris.
buddies.
Oh,
They're both Jedi.
I should have written down. I thought my brain would be up to the task, but I've had a few
Clearly
beers.
too
not.
early.
Getting old
Yeah.
sucks.
Barris Ophi.
Oofy.
Does she have legs under that dress?
She
Yes.
does. They articulate in a T-crotch
Ha!
fashion, which
Made you perv. Made you a perv. Everybody's watching this. You're pervs. That's cool. I'm glad she's got legs.
she's got legs. She's got knee
What is
articulation.
cool, man.
She's got knee articulation, but like, I mean, it's pretty hindered.
works.
You can't remove the dress, the skirt.
Oh.
It's fine.
So like,
At least it's soft good. She can do Wing Chun. It's okay. We're all good.
Kind of.
These are
As I say,
great.
it's a T-crotch, whereas Ayla Secura, she's an older body, but it still has full range of motion.
Yeah.
Cobra is awesome.
The
Proper
head
Jedi.
sculpt is new though.
Sexy.
I own this figure in the earlier, I think 2012 version, but this one has a
Oh.
paler skin tone, and she's a good looking figure. $5. I wasn't going to leave it behind.
What the hell? I thought people loved Twi'leks or Twi'leks or Twi'leks
Felix.
or
It
whatever.
depends on the age of the person, I guess.
Han,
Female
Han,
figures do not sell.
Leia. Yeah, it's weird. I thought
And
that should be well.
I've had this figure a couple of times, but never complete. Battle Armor Cobra Commander with his hose at long last.
Cobra.
Nice. Cobra
Which
Commander
means,
and
Rob,
his
you
hose.
now have a 99% Battle Armor Cobra Commander coming your way.
Whoa.
Sorry, minus the hose. But
No hose.
I've no,
That's
well,
how he rolls.
I've
Hell in
made
the
a hose out of guitar string and
Oh,
painted
that's
it up.
much
So
better.
if
That
you
looks
look
right,
at
doesn't
the one that I used in Renegades, that's
Mm.
that's it.
That's
It looks
the
alright.
thing.
And doesn't that annoy you guys when they say 99% complete? When like, how do you work out what percentage
Yeah.
of a figure the hose actually is?
The hoses. I mean,
Ridiculous.
Well,
sales.
let's do
either
that.
it's
Let's do
complete or it's
that. Let's do that, Maths. Actually, so 100% of that figure is him, his
Him.
gun, and his hose.
and his
Okay.
hose, yeah.
He doesn't come with a back. The vintage doesn't come with a backpack, does it?
No.
Yes, it does.
Does
it does. Okay, so
Oh, the big
it's
silver. Is it silver?
like
Yeah,
a
it's-
silver rocket pack looking thing. It's like
It's
triangular.
very
Okay, so
small.
accessories and a
actually.
figure. How much
so-
percentage for being something complete does the figure count?
So the figure, I would say, is 50%. Let's say it's 50%.
50%.
It all varies on how many accessories they've got. So he's got one hose, one gun, one backpack. So what is that then?
So it's
so let's
25% each? Oh, no.
Yeah, I
it
would-
was 50% divided by 3. That'd be like, I don't know, 15 point something? 17%?
yeah.
Oh, jeez,
each?
guys. Math sucks. Please.
Math
But then
does
again,
suck.
also, but if it's a Cobra Commander in battle armor, incomplete, whether it's, I mean, if it says incomplete and it doesn't come with the figure, is it not just completely incomplete then? Because I mean, I think the figure is kind of that's not the percentage anymore. It's like
Yeah.
if it says it's the figure,
it's just
the
the
figure has to
gear.
come with it. Yeah. Then
Yeah,
it comes
so
down to
let's
the
call it
gear, which
30%.
is affecting the
30
percentage.
Yeah, so it's like 30 what? 30 something percent. 30.
Boring.
Anyway, it's boring.
But yeah,
It's
it's like
it's like 33.5 or something like that. Anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the figure is essentially
it's not counted in the percentage because it is what,
70% complete.
yeah, so it'll be 70%
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah.
Gents, it is July.
How lame
It
are
is
we?
Cobra Convergence.
Not bad at our
Seven.
maths.
July, Joe.
Let's
Joe
not linger on
July.
our maths and let's rather talk about the fact that it's Cobra Convergence 7. We are, as of recording, 2 days into it, which means
Oh
that
my god.
it was kicked off by Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse, actually, strictly speaking, on the 31st, but it was the first here in
Ooh.
Australia. So he jumped on with a few special guests like HCC 788 and Hans Chow and Gaz and me, and we spoke about the Renegades, because the theme of this year's Cobra Convergence is spies, saboteurs, covert ops, and yeah, I mean, what better covert ops team was there than the trio
GI
of
Joe.
Renegades that infiltrated the Terrordrome on Cobra Island and leveled it.
We were a year
Badass.
early, damn it.
Oops.
And today was, well, I don't know what to. Woodman 29 did a review of the Terrordrome on the 1st, which was spectacular. What a great
Excellent.
piece. Lovingly represented and gave me some intel that I never had before. So shout outs to Woodman 29. If you want the full rundown of the event and know exactly which channel to go to or which podcast or Instagram account to go to on which day for your fresh Cobra Convergence 7 content, check out hcc788.com. And if you want to rock some of the coolest merch while enjoying this event, I give you the GI Joburg Teespring store. I was wearing my Cobra eel during the Renegades live stream, and let me just say that Firefly might get all the best press, but it's the eels that really do the hard work. They are the ultimate saboteurs of the Cobra Legions.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Let's not forget the guys who leveled Springfield in order to cover the escape of the Cobra operatives. Let's not forget 2 eels were able to hold off an entire squad of Russia's October Guard. Yeah, eels get it done, baby.
Never forget. And then we should have a big picture of the Cobra eels. And he was an angel.
But it's a fucking cool shirt and you should own it, basically.
Yeah. Snake Force eels.
If you're celebrating saboteurs this July, yeah, man, cool. And Paul did a very interesting, scratchy, like Metal Gear Solid artwork style. It's far and away the most unique eels shirt you're likely to find out there.
Thanks, man.
And if you want to help us in other ways, patreon.com/GI Joburg. Join the Berg Force and get secret perks like joining us live for these recordings, other little bonus features, early access to videos, discounts
Possibly
on that Teespring.
Yeah.
Some cool tunes that Paul whips up. Oh yes, I failed to mention that BUGG HUNT opens. I managed to find an opening for your funeral march track, which just fit the somber tone of that that opening, which is probably why you like it that much more. Hey, Paul.
Actually,
that's probably what it is.
It didn't even register. Like I was like, that's just such a cool sounding piece of score.
I love that track. Who made that?
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Shit. Yeah, I actually totally forgot I made that. I forgot that's what it sounded like. That's awesome.
I gotta ask Steve who made that song. It's so good. I want to follow that artist.
But I do that, guys. Like
plot twist.
I'll open up my music software because I kind of leave it for a bit, and then I open it up and then I listen to like everything I've done and I'm like, okay, there's something there. Like with fresh airs. Otherwise, I get too self-critical.
I like what he's putting out. Oh, it's me.
Just jumping back to the eels, GI Gary has also chalked up another big win for the eels. Never forget, eels fighting sharks and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Yep.
Holy shit.
The Battle of Cobra Island.
Eels get it done. And
thank
there's
you
more
to
of them.
the Berg Force. These
Berg
names that you see in front of you now
Force.
are patrons. You too
Beautiful.
can be on the honor roll.
All of them.
Is it a
Cobra's
foot long?
creatures.
Or is it is it a
The
6
honor
inch?
roll. I think it's like a. I mean, what is an A4 page? It's a foot
bread.
and
It's
a
just
half
pretty
long.
big. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's huge.
it's yeah.
I think
quite a
we're up
roll.
to A0 now.
If
Sure.
we put all the names in line, then it would be quite a bit longer than that.
It is
Sub-
near to the moon at
substantially
least.
longer.
That's a fact.
Anyway, that's cool. That's how awesome people are, and thank you guys. Really, really appreciate that. And yeah, and I think there's a new feature now on YouTube. You can like, I can't get it to work in South Africa, but the merch is available through our YouTube channel now as well.
Whoa!
Yeah, don't know how
You're
it works.
blowing people's minds. Now they don't even have to leave YouTube to find out.
Video, I don't know.
Let's see
And
what happens.
yeah,
295, guys. We're so close to 300. Can you even? Next
so
time,
close.
295, we'll be discussing, I don't know, comics and more toys.
And
good
112
times.
distro is on his way. Hey, just saying.
Ooh.
So we'll see what that's all about from a GI Joe perspective.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
This has
And
been a
Rob,
warm episode. I've quite enjoyed it. I think I
It's
had
been
a good time.
animal-tastic.
If you want to get hold of a real South African hero at gmail.com. Or just
Hank-
drop it in the
Hanky
comment
Hero.
section on the YouTube for this episode. My
Yeah,
name's
only this. I'm Rob.
And we are superior. Autobots inferior.
ThunderWave, destroy, deploy, eject.
Oh, ThunderWave is a cool name. I'm gonna make a song called ThunderWave. I don't know what
Hell
the song's
yeah.
gonna sound like, but I'm gonna call it ThunderWave and figure it out from there.
It's kind of
ThunderWave
surprising
is
there's
great.
never been a Transformer called ThunderWave just yet.
Right? What the
Well,
hell? Like, it's
everyone's-
like, why hasn't there been one called Thundershock? One, the mind boggles.
ThunderWave
There
knows
is-
so much
Is
cooler.
it Thundershock? No, okay, there's no Thundershock, but there is
You've been-
Thunderwing.
Thundershock.
No,
Mhm.
Thundershock is my Steel Brigade name.
Yes, I recall.
Ah,
And mine is
yeah.
Talon. Oh dear.
deep cuts.
Talon.
Deep cuts.
Problematic now that I've spoken about the Court of Owls. I guess I'm not as
Oh, the
original
Court
as
of
I thought.
Owls. Remember the Court
No,
of Owls?
you are. They had to listen to the podcast and get that idea, and they were like, "Shit, that's what we should call this character." That I have
That's
no
a
idea
neat
of.
idea. Scott
Yeah,
Snyder
he's-
was like, "Oh, I love it." Stealing
Scott
it.
Snyder of the
character.
past. Was it like
Yeah.
15 years ago now? Oh, man.
Ages ago, New 52. It's a,
We
it's a whole
have
new world.
neglected to talk about Void Rivals. But yes, there's a maelstrom of Transformer and G.I. Joe crossovers happening.
Absolutely.
There's something in the
Well-
water, boys.
Our next episode is about comics, so maybe we'll shove some Void Rivals in there too.
Have you
Oh,
read it,
yes.
Rob?
No.
I have actually. Well, the first issue.
Oh,
It's
Hmm.
I haven't.
it's a very interesting setup. It's very much like a preview into what's going to happen next. And once again, things are happening over huge periods of time. I mean, the robot wakes up and he's like, according to my decay, I've been here for 20 billion years. The war is still raging. I must go.
wait, really? Are you serious? Is that really how it starts?
Well, the story isn't about. Well, go read it for yourself, Paul, and decide for yourself.
No.
I don't
The
wanna-
reason I'm specifically
colour
asking is because it
your-
sounds very similar to a very specific playmotion venture we're doing for Cobra Convergence.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You think Robert Kirkman has been inside your brain?
Probably.
Totally.
No, I just think there's something in the water.
I think he has,
But-
actually. He's right in
Yeah.
there.
That's okay. I'll
He
pivot.
sees you, Paul. He
I've
sees you.
got an idea. But yes, I also have. Jojo Burg, Jojo Burg, Jojo Burg,
Bird.
Dr. Lucifer, Professor Hudson.